NFL wildcard weekend is here, and we're breaking down everything you need to know. We've got the free bet of the week, injury watch, stock up, stock down, DraftKings, player of the slate, and our primetime preview with a prop you do not want to miss. Let's jump in.
The time is now for the Dr. Bob Sports Podcast. I am Tanner. I am our head of analytics, and I'm in my 9th year working alongside Bob, originating our NFL and college basketball bets. And today, as always, I'm joined by our digital media specialist, Grant. The playoffs are here.
The playoffs are finally here, and you do not look like you're in New Hampshire right now.
I'm not in New Hampshire. Brought the battle station down to Atlantis this week to get some sunshine.
Well, you need to keep an eye out. Last time I was in Atlantis, I saw Julio Jones, Frank Mason, Donovan Mitchell, his rookie season, so you might have some stars down there. But let's get started here with our free bet of the week. And you were at 34, 19, and 1 on podcast sides and totals dating back to 2023 after Tampa Bay minus 2.5 somehow didn't get home last week.
I mean, the Bucs were covering the whole game. All they needed was a 38-yard field goal to seal it. Blocked. And, of course, the Panthers marched down the field for a touchdown drive afterwards to lose by 2. But, I mean, the variance all evens out. We'll win by a blocked field goal somewhere down the line.
Definitely. But this week, it looks like you've got a bet on the Sunday night game.
Yeah, so we're going to take the Chargers plus 3.5 over the Patriots. And I think schematically, Jesse Minter's defense does a lot of the things that Drake May and Josh McDaniels will not want to see. I mean, really, the number one thing that the Patriots have had success with this season has been Drake May's long ball. He's 5th in average depth of target, but he's kind of had struggles against zone coverage defenses, particularly the ones that play a ton of too high. New England's offense ranks 29th relatively against zone, and Drake May's yards per pass play against too high safeties was only 81% of his yards per pass play against single high. That was 31st relatively in the NFL. Jesse Minter's defense, top 5 in both zone rate and too high coverage rate. And then you look at it, okay, if they're going to take away all the deep stuff, Drake May's going to look underneath to Stephon Diggs, but Tariq still has been a pretty good nickelback for the Chargers, 5th in yards per cover snap allowed in the slot. So the other option for the Patriots is go to Hunter Henry, and I do think they will do that against the Chargers defense that has struggled a bit against tight ends this season. But on high leverage downs, I expect Jesse Minter to put all-pro safety Derwin James on Hunter Henry to take him away. And I think that's going to pretty much limit Drake May's passing options, particularly on, those 3rd and 4th downs.
Well, you'd expect May to use his legs because he leads the NFL with 61 scrambles, but it looks like he'll be shut down as a runner because Los Angeles ranks 2nd in EPA per play allowed on scrambles. But shifting to the other side of this game, how do you see it playing out when the Chargers have the ball?
Well, I mean, every Chargers handicap has to start up front because, the offensive line has been rough without Joe Alt. I don't think the Patriots are the team to exploit this Chargers offensive line. You look at it, New England's defense 31st in pressure rate on standard pass rushes this year. Now, they did recently get back Milton Williams, but I looked it up. They only had a 36% success rate, 20th, heading into week 11 when Williams went down with that high ankle sprain. I think the Patriots have the worst pass rush of the remaining AFC playoff teams.
Well, Los Angeles will be getting back left tackle Jamari Salyer, who has been out since before Christmas, and Salyer's been much better for filling in for Joe Alt than Austin Deculus, as he's allowing a 7.0% pressure rate, while Deculus has surrendered an 11.4% pressure rate.
Yeah, different tiers of backups there. So it is big. I mean, Salyer's probably a half point better than Deculus, and I think that might go unnoticed in a lot of people's handicaps. So that was a big return for the Chargers. And I'm just looking at these two teams. I mean, if you exclude week 18 because the Chargers weren't playing anybody, the Chargers had a higher net success rate than the Patriots, and the Patriots, everyone knows, had played one of the easiest schedules of all time in the NFL. Our metrics had the Patriots schedule 1.9 points per game easier than Los Angeles' schedule.
Yeah, we also have New England applying to a 7-39-1 against the spread playoff situation in Bob's database.
Yeah. So, I mean, you bring it all together. I just don't think the Patriots can be favored by more than 3 in this game, and we're going to take the Chargers as our free bet of the week.
I love it. Well, let's shift over to our next segment. We've got the injury watch, and the Panthers will be getting back Pro Bowl guard Robert Hunt, who has been out since September, and Los Angeles is likely getting back nickelback Quentin Lake, who is conceding just 0.80 yards per cover snap in the slot, which is third in the NFL. But the big news here, Rams are getting back wide receiver Devontae Adams.
Yeah, both teams getting healthier, everyone trying to get back for the playoffs. There's one guy, though, that probably can't get back onto the field this week, and that is Rams right guard Kevin Dotson. He's still nursing that ankle sprain, and that could be big for the ground game because the Rams average 4.8 yards per carry with Dotson on the field compared to only 4.0 yards per carry when Dotson has been off the field this season.
Well, looking at the Bills defense, they will be getting back two starters in safety Jordan Poyer and interior defender Daquan Jones.
That's pretty big. I mean, those two are worth about a point according to our metrics. Poyer allowing a half point or a half yard per cover snap less than backup Cam Lewis, and then Daquan Jones is better as a pass rusher and a run stopper than the backup Mathis there.
Well, Buffalo's defense likely won't be getting back linebacker Terrell Bernard, who has a 6.2% run stop rate, compared to his backup Shaq Thompson, who has a 4.4% run stop rate.
Yeah, it looks like at least another week for Bernard there. And then on the other side of the ball for the Jaguars, let's talk about that left tackle situation because it has been interesting. They started the season with Walker Little out there, but then Little got hurt. Cole Van Lanen stepped in. He took over, won the job by conceding only a 6.4% pressure rate. Jacksonville liked Van Lanen's performance so much they gave him a 3-year, $51 million extension last week. Then he goes out and gets hurt in week 18. He might not be able to play this week. Now, Walker Little, he's been filling in at right guard for Patrick McCarry, but they're probably going to have to put Little back out at left tackle with Van Lanen sideline. And Little has surrendered the third most sacks in the NFL this season. He would definitely struggle across from Buffalo edge defender Greg Rousseau, who's 15th in pass rushing efficiency.
Well, looking at the Eagles, they will likely be getting back right tackle Lane Johnson, but the status of San Francisco's left tackle, Trent Williams, remains up in the air at the time of recording.
Yeah, two of the most valuable offensive linemen in the NFL. You look at it, the Eagles 0.16 EPA per play better with Lane Johnson on the field since 2022, and the 49ers are 0.12 EPA per play better with Williams on the field. So just by EPA per play, that implies Lane Johnson and Trent Williams have been worth between 7 and 10 points per game to their offenses these last few seasons. Now, I don't think the true adjustment is that much, but it just underscores the point that these are two of the best offensive linemen in the league.
Absolute studs. But you also had told me earlier in the week that you have a bet circled in that game if the Trent Williams status breaks the way that you're thinking it's going to go. But you can actually find that bet at drbobsports.com along with our other postseason bets. But shifting over to our next segment here, we've got stock up, stock down, and whose stock are you going to be buying this week?
I'm buying the Steelers offense. And this is because most offenses have to change their regular game plan when they play Houston's defense. Pittsburgh does not. So we know the Texans are extremely strong up front in the trenches, second in pressure rate. But the Steelers rank second in pass blocking efficiency, partially because Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out so fast. He's the third fastest time to throw in the NFL. A ton of screens to Kenny Gainwell. And the Steelers are averaging an NFL high 6.5 yards after the catch. And Houston's defense is going to struggle against those screens because they've missed the ninth most tackles on throws with less than 10 air yards. The other reason I want to buy Pittsburgh's offense right now is because they're getting back DK Metcalf, and he has significant value because his downfield ability is the only threat keeping opposing defenses from selling out against Pittsburgh's short game. The Steelers are averaging 1.3 more yards per play with Metcalf on the field compared to off the field this season.
Yeah, that game is going to be extremely ugly, and I'm going to love every second of it. But whose stock are you going to be selling this week?
I'm selling James Cook. He won the rushing title, but I do not think this is going to be a James Cook week because the Jaguars defense is 7th in EPA per rush allowed. Now, the way the Bills want to attack this Jaguars defense is with the play action. The Jaguars are allowing a league high 32% more yards per attempt against play action compared to standard dropbacks. But the one worry here is Josh Allen has been dealing with a foot injury that may hinder his ability to make plays outside of the pocket on those play action passes.
All right, well, let's jump into our next segment here. We've got our DraftKings player of the slate, and who are you going to be putting in your lineups on Sunday?
Jacoby Myers at 5,000 500. So Grant can pull up the graphic on the screen right now. Parker Washington actually leads the Jags in receiving since they traded for Jacoby. Washington is all the way up to 19th in EPA per target in the NFL. But I think he's going to be shut down in the slot across from Bills nickelback Teron Johnson, who's 4th in yards per cover snap allowed in the slot. Still, Trevor has a favorable matchup. He ranks 5th relatively against 2 high coverages compared to single high. We know Liam Cohen has done a really good job scheming in that department when opposing defenses play 2 high safeties. I think the Bills are going to put a cap on those high A-dot throws to Washington and those high A-dot throws to BTJ. What does that leave? A ton of space underneath for Jacoby Myers to operate, and I'm going to take him as the DraftKings player of the slate.
I love that one. Jacoby's been awesome since becoming a Jag. But shifting over to our next segment here, we've got the weather of the week, and it looks like it could be raining again in Carolina on Saturday, just like it was earlier in the season when the Panthers played the Rams, and Los Angeles outgained Carolina 7.4 yards per play to 5.8 yards per play in that game, and the Panthers won that game by going +3 in turnovers, including a pick 6, and then going 3 for 3 on 4th downs, which I just think is going to be so hard to replicate.
I do. It's also going to be hard to replicate Bryce Young going 4 for 6 for 102 yards on throws with 10-plus air yards in the rain. I can't believe he did that against a Rams defense that ranks 6th in EPA per pass allowed on throws with 10-plus air yards. I mean, the way to beat the Panthers is to put the game on Bryce Young's shoulders, like the Rams did last time, and they just, hit the lotto on the variance, and I don't know that he's going to be able to do that again. I mean, the Panthers want to take the game off of Bryce Young's shoulders. They want to run the football. They have the 6th highest run rate adjusted for situation.
Well, the Rams defense is conceding just a 38% rush success rate, which is 6th in the NFL. But remember, they allowed 164 yards on the ground to the Panthers in that Week 13 loss, so something to keep an eye on there. But shifting over, we've got our primetime preview. We have Green Bay and Chicago.
We do, and Ben Johnson's turnaround in Chicago starts up front where that offensive line ranked 3rd in pass blocking efficiency this season. Now, Green Bay's defense is 9th in pressure rate, but in the two real games they played without Micah Parsons in week 16 and 17, they ranked 30th in EPA per play allowed. Parsons, 20% pressure rate and 3.5% sack rate this year compared to backup Kingsley and Gabare with an 11% pressure rate and just a 1.3% sack rate. We have Parsons worth 2 points.
Yeah, to make things worse, Packers interior defender Devontae Wyatt is also sidelined, and Wyatt had a 10.6% pressure rate compared to backup Colby Wooden with a 4.0% pressure rate.
Right. So, I mean, the Packers, I said they had the 9th highest pressure rate this season, but they're clearly a much worse pass rush unit right now. Still, schematically, I think they could do some things to limit Chicago's passing attack because they rank 6th relatively against play action compared to standard dropbacks, and we know that the Bears are using a ton of play action. Plus, the Bears have basically been running the offense through Colston Loveland recently. He's been the go-to guy, but the Packers are 6th in success rate allowed to opposing tight ends.
Well, the Bears will be getting back starting wide receiver Roma Dunze, who averaged 1.9 targets per game with 20-plus air yards, which is 2nd in the NFL. But backup wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus averaged only 0.42 yards per route run in the 5 weeks that Odunze missed.
Yeah, so Odunze back, stretching the field. That's going to be a half-point boost to Chicago's offense. Now, Green Bay's offense has changed since the middle of the season when they lost starting tight end Tucker Kraft to that torn ACL. Green Bay averaged 0.12 EPA per play more and 0.7 yards per play more with Kraft on the field this year. However, in this game against the Bears with the 3rd highest cover 2 rate, I think Jordan Love can still find some success even without Kraft because the Packers averaged 22% more yards per pass play versus cover 2 compared to other coverages. That's 4th best relatively. And Jordan Love averaged 7.6 yards per pass play in the game and a half he played against Chicago's defense.
Well, Bears safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson suffered a concussion late last week, and there's almost no chance that he would suit up for this game if it was a regular season one, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson might not be as irreplaceable as he normally would be because starting nickelback Kyler Gordon could suit up for this game, and that would only be his 4th one of this season. And then Chicago backup Nick McLeod is allowing 0.59 yards per cover snap in the slot more than Gardner-Johnson. So if Gordon can't get back on the field, that's who's going to be playing.
Yeah, so a lot to sort out there with Chicago's nickelback, but if Nick McLeod is out there, he is going to get picked on a ton. So the Bears have to hope that Gardner-Johnson can get cleared or that Kyler Gordon is feeling 100%. Packers are going to be happy to have back right tackle Zach Tom, who ranked 9th in pass blocking efficiency this season when he went down with a knee injury in Week 12 against the Broncos, because he's going to be pretty crucial limiting Montez Sweat out there. Still, I think the Packers are going to be a little bit worried about the guy playing next to Zach Tom. That rookie right guard, Anthony Belton, is going to struggle across from Gervon Dexter, who ranked 18th in pressures among interior defenders. So looking at it all, I make this game pick with a total of 45, so I'm not going to have a bet side or total here.
All right, well, let's give the people a primetime prop. And you are 35 and 26 on podcast props dating back to 2023.
Yeah, this week we're going to head out to Monday night and take Jonnu Smith over 1.5 receptions. So Smith has the third most screen targets among tight ends this season, and Arthur Smith is going to want to use him on screens to keep those Houston edge defenders guessing. Plus, Darnell Washington is out, which leaves more tight end targets to go around for Jonnu and for Pat Freiermuth. Jonnu has at least 2 catches in 11 of his 17 games this season, and I think he gets 3 catches on Monday night.
I love it. Well, if you want more props from Tanner, he'll be releasing them all as part of our playoff postseason package, but that will do it for our wild card preview, and we will see you guys back next Friday to preview the divisional round.